these numbers are incredible. It's surely getting more difficult to be optimistic.
It is hard. I mean, as you say, I am an optimist, but I'm also a realist, and my feeling is that we need to look at things, you know, as realistically as we possibly can, and then we go, OK, what do we do with this? How are we going to cope? And it is getting harder. I have to say that the 22% figure, that is closer to what I've been thinking inflation was for the last, well, at least for the last year. Yeah. Certainly the year before, I was saying we're going to have inflation, and it's not going to be just a little blip, which is what the Bank of England was saying, as you remember. Oh, it'll be over by the spring. It'll be up to about 6%. And no, and I was shouting at the television. Yes, way different now. And what, you know, I just keep feeling quite irritated by what is being said by our central bank, the Bank of England, and by government. For example, there's Andrew Bailey, the governor of the Bank of England, saying the science is settled. Where have we heard that before? Yeah. The science is settled. Inflation does not come from printing money. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And we had an article today in the Times from Steve Baker and Steve Hankey, and Steve Hankey's a huge name in economics and certainly currency. And they have said, yes, it is. You print money, you create inflation. It's not the only thing for our inflation, but it is the fundamental.
Well, that 22.4% isn't quite a record. I think in 1975 it hit 24.1 or whatever. But I would imagine that we are heading for a record inflation. And if you'd said this is going to be worse than 70s inflation, that eroded everybody's savings. Laura, we're about to get a new Prime Minister, and it either matters or it doesn't, because who cares whether, you know, she's going to be kissing hands in Balmoral or Windsor or Buckingham Palace, as our news department is apparently fascinated by. I have no idea why that should be of any interest at all. But what matters is that she's got to actually do something to fix all this. Is that within the realm of possibility?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to be difficult for her, but you have to hope something can be done. I mean, I think an acknowledgement of all the bad government decisions that have been made up until now to cause this would certainly be necessary. I think both candidates have now are recognising the damage that lockdown has done, both to the economy and to lots of other sectors in society, particularly education and health. And it's true that, I mean, Johnson repeatedly blames Putin and the conflict in Ukraine, which of course is a factor, but it's not just Putin's invasion, it's also of course the West's reaction to it. And so far Boris Johnson's policy decision seems to be, sorry Britons, take the pain. I mean, that is literally the slogan. You know, we're in this for the long haul. I don't know how bad it has to get for people to say, there is no more pain for me to take. Yes, you must support Ukraine as much as possible in terms of seeking the very best terms, but that this isn't seen as, you know, a terrible thing to do to try and bring that conflict to the end. To an end. Otherwise, I mean, the inflation figures keep going up. As you said, the Bank of England have been running, don't worry about it, you know, we won't get into recession. Well, it'll be a technical recession. Oh, it looks like it's going to be a full recession, and inflation is out of control. So I think Liz Truss is going to have to do more than tell all the voters just to take the pain.
Well, when you get up to those inflation rates that they're talking about, it's real pain, not just for the underclass or for poor people or whatever, but it cuts way deep, well into the middle class. I mean, are people willing to actually starve for Ukraine, as Boris Johnson told Zelensky that the people of the United Kingdom would be happy to do?
I don't think they are. I think the support for Ukraine is waning. I've been around the country a bit recently, and I do see the Ukrainian flags here and there. But you are seeing more in the media, a few little question marks about where the money's going, question marks about Zelensky, question marks about whether it is as we're being told. So it is starting to wane. And I do think that once people get hungry, not only will their support wane, but they will take to the streets. And this is what's being talked about at the moment. So whoever does become our new Prime Minister, if it is Liz Truss, that's one of the big things she's going to have to cope with, actual fighting and big protests.
Well,